Okay. Now, many of you joined early, therefore, I took the attendance for those. So do not worry about it if I do not call your name. Okay. I took many of those attendance as I started from the about 10:40 or so. Okay. So many of you are already here present. You'll see probably there when I post it. Some of them I'm going to call now. Is so please say yes. You can once you're there. Okay. First one is Holly Brownsberger. Holly, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Thank you. Daniel Brownlee, are you there, Daniel?
I'm here.
All right. Okay. Sophia Cavatayo. Are you Sophia there? Are you Sophia
I'm here.
there?
I'm
Very
here.
good. All right, all right. Nevia Karkido. Nevia Karkido, are you there, Nevia?
I'm here.
Very good. Sorry, just give me a second here. All right. Madeline Coley, are you there, Madeline?
I'm here.
Madeline, very good. All right. All right. Gabriel Del Proposed, are you there, Gabriel?
Here.
Very good. All right. Sydney Eaglestone, are you there, Sydney?
I'm here.
All right. All right. Rachel Williams, are you there, Rachel?
Here.
All right. Meredith Fatika, are you there, Meredith?
I'm here.
All right. Isabel Fletcher, are you there, Isabella? Isabella Fletcher. Yes. All right. Okay. Okay. Haley Jerica Bledsoe, are you there, Haley? Haley, are you there? Okay. All right. Megan Green, are you there, Megan?
Here.
Yes, Megan Green. Yeah,
Here.
you're fine.
Oh, thank you.
Kennedy Haston, are you there, Kennedy?
I'm here.
Very good. Noah Hickens. Noah Hickens, are you there, Noah?
I'm here.
All right. Tia Hoffman Ulmar, are you there, Tia?
I'm here.
All right. Kelly Horning, are you there, Kelly?
I'm here.
Okay. Serenity Coed. Serenity Coed.
Here.
Taylor Cope. Taylor Cope. Taylor Cope, are you there, Taylor?
I'm here. Yep.
All right. Mitchell Autumn. Autumn Mitchell. Autumn Mitchell, are you there, Autumn?
I'm here.
Okay. All right. Okay. Lenny Mumau. Lenny Mumau.
Here.
Okay. Priscilla Osu. Priscilla Osu.
Here.
Very good. Emily Pisico.
Here.
Very good. All right. Maria Openhouse. Are you there, Maria?
I'm here.
Okay. All right. Alexis Rogers. Are you there, Alexis?
I'm here.
All right. Miranda Rush. Are you there, Miranda?
Here.
Very good. All right. Brennan Seaman. Brennan Seaman. Brennan, are you there? Brennan Seaman. Seamann. Seaman. All right. Maddie Skinner. Are you there, Maddie?
I'm here.
Okay. Daniel Stanfield. Daniel, are you there?
Here.
Okay. All right. Elia Walker. Are you there, Elia?
Yeah, I'm here.
Ron Winsley. Ron, are you there?
Here.
Okay. Joan Wilburn. Are you there, Joan?
Here.
Okay. Mason Woodruff. Mason? Are you
Here.
there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. And Lindsay Zika.
Here.
Very good. All right. Don't worry about the rest of you. Whomever I call, whomever I did not call, do not worry about it. You are out there, okay? All right. Let's get into that. What we talked about here last Wednesday, I think, right? Yeah. So let's get into it, and then we'll go from there. We have to move on. All right. So let me put into the sharing mode.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Are you gonna have class on Monday?
Monday is holiday, right? Yeah, no, if you want it, I can. It's official holiday. It's okay, it's a holiday. Okay? All right, I think it's official
Hey.
holiday. Monday's holiday.
Is there any way you could post the slides?
I will. I already posted the old slides and I took them off. And then I'm going to post today's slide as well. Yes, I will.
Okay, thank you.
After the lecture, I will. Okay? All right, so let's get into it. So can everybody can see the slide that I'm presenting here? Everybody can see it, right? Say some of you at least yes. I'll make
Yes.
sure. Very good, thank you. All right, so we talked about the periodic table and we went through quite a many of those. Now we also talked about the elements present inside our body, inside those cells. All right, so let's okay, now, so these are the things that you can tell by looking at the periodic table. And you tell me if you did not get it from previous lecture, okay? We can tell the symbols, of course. We can tell the atomic number of protons at its nucleus, total number of electrons, that is total number of protons. You can also talk about the number of electrons at the outer shell or valence shell. That is the position in the periodic table. For example, if you have a group 1 element, 1A, it has only 1 electron in the outer shell. Group 2A has 2 electrons in the outer shell. Group 3A has 3 electrons in the outer shell. Group 8A has 8 electrons in the outer shell. It goes like this way, right? Atomic weight, the weighted average of all isotopes. We'll discuss more details today. And that atomic weight you can see underneath the symbol, right? You can also tell whether the metal element is a metal, non-metal, or metalloids. You can see the color coding. You can also tell some periodicity about those elements. Elements in a particular group, in a column, for example, group 1A has lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium. They have identical chemical properties. And they're called cousins, in fact, and that's called periodicity. And in principle, Mendeleev started arranging based on the properties at the time. He did not know the atomic number, atomic weight, etc. He didn't know the atomic weight, not the atomic number of neutrons, protons, electrons. So that's that you can say that's called periodicity. Periodicity, it means the elements in a particular group, they behave similarly, almost identical in terms of chemical properties. Sorry. All right. What's going on here? Give me 1 second. Let's go to the previous one.
Can you go back just a second?
I'm trying. My computer is not behaving. I don't know what's going on here. Here you go. All right, my computer, my keyboard. All right, then we can also tell whether it's a stable element or unstable element. Stable elements, whatever you see there, most of them. Unstable elements are the actinides, especially the actinides. You know the actinides, that box I showed you? Those are radioactive elements. They emit radiation like alpha rays, beta rays, gamma rays, etc., etc. We'll talk about way down the road. You can also tell the name of the special groups. Group 1A called alkali metals. Group 2A called alkaline earth metals because they're dominant in the predominantly present on the earth crust. Halogens, fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine, right? Astatine, you can tell that. You can also tell the group 1A, group 1A, group 8A, those are noble gas elements or inert gas elements. You can also tell which elements are transition metals or d block elements, which are lanthanides, which are actinides. And as I said earlier, the metals lose electrons to become cations. So as long as you know group 1A, 2 2a, 3a are the metals, along with the transition metals. These metals lose electron to become cations, positively charged ion, and they lose the electron from the outer shell. Number of electron lost is equivalent, is parallel to position in the periodic table. On the other hand, non-metals, they accept electron to become 8 electrons in the outer shell. We'll talk about that also. It's collected rule and become anions. So cations are the metals are the donor of electrons. Non-metals are the acceptor of electrons. So donor-acceptor relationship create the ionic compounds. Cation plus anion is ionic compound. We'll talk about more details. We also talk about the elements important in our health. I mean, periodic table doesn't tell, but we have discussed that, right? So that's a summary of whatever you've done so far. The next one, this is assignment, practice homework questions, assignment number 1. Once again, please write it down. I'm going to give you some time. Write it down, all of them. These are available only for students who are present in the class. In other words, who are here today. They're only available for them. I'm not going to post this slide, but I will post rest of the slides. Okay? So please write it down, take a good notes, and write down all those questions that you have. So first question, and this assignment is not due, but I will discuss on Wednesday if you have any questions. You can also come to the office to discuss this one as well. Either way, I need those answers to be questions to be solved by yourself, because we have discussed those materials to answer these questions. The first one, how do you define the life form? And what is the molecule, or what are the molecules of life? You already know. What are the biomacromolecules? Biomacromolecules. What is the periodic table? When you talk the periodic table is a table where elements are arranged systematically in different groups in increasing atomic number. So definitely that's a periodic table by definition. What information can you get? I gave you the summary slide. Plenty of things up there. You can learn from those periodic table. Which elements are present in living cells? We also talked about it. Major elements, minor elements, and you should know the functions. Usually I ask the question that if I ask the question like this, the elements which are present in our red blood cells is absolutely required for our survival. Which element is that? You can say iron 2+ or iron 3+, iron, right? Likewise, who can tell me where do you see the cobalt, CO, cobalt? Which element is present in one of the important molecule in our health? Does anyone know? Cobalt? Where do you see the cobalt? CO, cobalt.
Vitamin B.
Vitamin B12. Vitamin B12, B as in boy, 12. Vitamin B12. All right. Likewise, you can also know, if I ask you where do you see the copper 2+, copper plus. Where do you see the copper on? Cu. Where do you see the copper plus, copper 2+ or copper plus? Where do you see it?
In the mitochondria.
Thank you. That is absolutely right. Now, then again, we have question number 7. Who is the pioneer of synthetic life form? Who is that? Who is that guy? What's the name? What's the name of the pioneer?
Frank Venter.
Thank you very much. Absolutely right. And how did he prove that one of the biomacromolecules is can alone sustain the life form? You should know that procedure. Take a bacteria, remove the DNA, and if you keep it like that, that bacteria will die. If you put a synthetic DNA inside, then it can live. Therefore, DNA is the molecule of life. You already know those and solve those, and many of them will be in the test one way or another. So if you definitely, you not only answer the question, you read those particular topics as well. They will be there in the test. Okay, I'm not great, but definitely if you solve these problems, you'll get at least, I have 8 questions, you'll get 8 questions there without any problem. All right, not exactly the same thing I'm going to write it, but I'm going to phrase it in a different way. But definitely you should know to answer those questions in the test. 8 questions you will get it from there. Eight questions that I have, and that many of them will be in the test, first test. I'm going to move on. Next one is just a review again. Elements are present in the periodic table. There are three major groups, metals, non-metals, and metalloids. There are 6 metalloids there, and most of them are basically metals, and there are a few non-metals as well. An atom is the smallest particle of an element, and it's a neutral. A smallest particle of an element is called atom, and it is a neutral particle. Why is it neutral? Because it has the same number of protons in the nucleus, positively charged particles, and it also has the same number of electrons, which are negatively charged particles. Proton plus positive charge plus negative charge equal number is 0 charge. Therefore, atoms are neutral particle. And in the atom, we have three main particles. Those are only 3 particles that we know so far. And those are the protons. Neutrons are in the nucleus. That's why the nucleus has a positive charge. Electrons are in the extranuclear space, spinning around the nucleus, because electrons are the negatively charged particles. Because of the charges, they are basically the nucleus is holding them on the extranuclear space, positive negative attraction. Atomic number is the number of protons, and that equals the number of electrons in the atomic state. All atoms, all elements present in nature, they exist in different forms. Those are called isotopes. Isotope, and at least all the elements that you see, except those man-made one, all of them, naturally occurring elements, have at least 2 or more isotopes. By definition, isotopes is the element or the elements having same number of protons or electrons, but different number of neutrons. Different number of neutrons. Same number of protons and same number of neutrons. So we'll talk about those. I'll show you the atomic atom, a schematic view of an atom, and then we'll move on to the isotopes. Everybody has the slide. Tell me how you're done. Shall I move on?
Can you give us 1 minute?
Okay, sure. All right. So once again, the atomic number is the number of protons. And in the nucleus, you have protons and neutrons, electrons in the extranuclear space, and they are holding together due to the positive negative attractions. Very key for you, the basic concept, and you must know. And as I said earlier, all elements that you see, naturally occurring elements, have at least 2 or more isotopes. What are the isotopes? Elements having same number of protons or electrons, but different number of neutrons. Hydrogen has 3 isotopes. Chlorine has 2 isotopes. Potassium has 3. Do you remember that? Maybe you can, fine. If you can, I'll show you within a minute. That will give you plenty of examples. Carbon has 3 isotopes. We'll talk about it within a minute. So I'll move on now. All right. So this is the schematic view. Yes?
What did you mean when you said that they, like the ones that are in nature, exist in different forms?
So nature exists means in the nature, means Mother Earth, basically, we are talking about at this moment. And many of the elements present in the different forms means different isotopes. They have a different number of neutrons. So same element, different number of neutrons, those are called isotopes. And I'll explain to you after this slide. What are the isotopes and how do you know to calculate the atomic weight, etc., etc. I'll show you in a minute, okay? So
Okay,
this is
thank you.
Sure, no problem. So this is the atomic view. That's the atom structure of an atom. Very roughly, it is elliptical, but it's a circle now. And it has the nucleus. The diameter of the nucleus is very, very small, as you can see, 10 to the minus 15 meters, minus 10 to the minus 15. So basically, it's 10 femtometers. Very, very tiny one. Very, very tiny one. And the atom as it is, the diameter from here to here, right? So diameter is the distance. So is the distance. Let me see if I can select this pen. All right. So the diameter is basically we're talking about from distance from here to here, right? And that distance is 10 to the minus 10 meter. 10 to meter. So 10 basically is a pico. Is a pico meters. Picometer, around picometers. In the nucleus, you have protons and neutrons. Protons are positively charged particles. So the overall charge of the nucleus is positive, right? Extranuclear space occupied by the electrons, and electrons have a negative charges, right? Extranuclear have a negative charges, and therefore the overall charge of the extranuclear space is negative. How that staying together? Because of the electrons are held together at the extranuclear space by the nucleus due to the attraction between positive and negative charges. All right, I just said a few seconds ago. Oh, sorry, my cursor is moving. All right, so in fact, the electrons are extranuclear space are spinning around the nucleus, and they present in different energy levels. We'll talk about those. The extranuclear space that you see, the blue color, it is subdivided into many layers of energy layers, and we'll talk about those are the layers we call electron configuration, how the electrons are present in the extranuclear space. We'll talk about that. Before we go to that, we'll talk about the isotopes. And here's the definition of an isotope. Atoms with the same number of protons, but a different number of neutrons. As you know, the number of protons and number of electrons are the same, because neutral for new atoms are neutral as it is. So therefore, atoms with the same number of protons or electrons, but a different number of neutrons. Now, to understand how many neutrons are present in the nucleus, it is given by the model called nuclear model. Nuclear model is a representation of an element, and it is represented like this. For example, is a carbon. The 12, this is a 12 is called mass number. Mass number is the number of protons plus neutron. Total number of protons and neutron in the nucleus, right? They are present in nucleus, so therefore that's called mass number. That is called nuclear model. And the bottom is written is the number of protons. That's basically the atomic number. Atomic number. This can be also represented as simply C12. C-12. That's called nuclear model. This is a representation of an atom in terms of nuclear model. In the periodic table, it is not there. In the periodic table, it has the atomic model. Atomic model says it has the top one will be atomic number, symbol, and the bottom one is atomic weight. And we'll come back to what is atomic weight. So the isotopes, for example, number one, carbon has 3 isotopes: carbon 12, carbon 13, and carbon 14. By the way, carbon 12 is a stable element. Carbon 13 and 14 are radioactive elements, but they're there. We have it. And in our body, the major element, basically, one of the major elements is the carbon. And on Earth, same thing. Plants and all those things. If you look at the carbon, is the most abundant. Therefore, carbon 14 is routinely used to determine the age of a species or age of a fossil, etc., etc. It is called carbon dating. All right. So carbon has 3 isotopes: 12, 13, 14. C12, C13, C14. C12 has 6 protons and 6 neutrons. 6 plus 6, 12, right? And it also has 6 protons and 7 neutrons. That's C13. C14 has 6 protons and 8 neutrons. So protons, the same number of protons, am I right? And different number of neutrons. Different number of neutrons, 6, 7, and 8. So that's the definition. So these are isotopes. Likewise, the second example, oxygen has oxygen 16, oxygen 17, and oxygen 18. This is a nuclear model. So 16, 17, 18 is a mass number. So 16 has 8 protons and 8 neutrons. 8 plus 8, 16. 8 protons and 9 neutrons has C and O17. So 8 plus 9, 17, right? So that's O17. O18 has 8 protons and 10 neutrons. 8 plus 10, 18, right? So you can see the number of protons remains the same. Number of neutrons are different. So that's why they're isotopes. Hydrogen has 3. I didn't write it here. Example number 3. Hydrogen has 3 isotopes. We call 1H1. All right. So N1H1 has 1 proton, one proton and 0 neutron. Because atomic number is a 1, and atomic mass, the mass number is also 1. So 1 plus 0, 1, no neutron. It also has another one, it's called 2H1. 2H1. This is also known as D for deuterium. D for deuterium. D for deuterium. So it has one proton and 1 plus 1, 2, 1 neutron. Likewise, the other one is a radioactive. It's called 3H1. 3H1. So it has 1 proton and 2 neutrons. So 2 plus 1, 3, right? That's why this is called tritium. So this is the hydrogen, that's a deuterium, that's a tritium, that's a radioactive hydrogen. So if you combine those, the atomic masses of those, take the average of this, that will give you the atomic weight of an element. So the atomic weight of an element is the weighted average of all those isotopes present in nature. Everybody has it? So next one we'll talk about what is atomic number, atomic weight. We know the atomic number, right? Atomic number is the number of protons, and number of mass number is the number of protons plus number of neutrons. So if you subtract the number of protons from the mass number, you get the number of neutrons in principle, right? So one can calculate the number of neutrons. Since you know the number of protons, you can also say number of electrons, because all elements at its atomic state is 0 charge, neutral. So therefore, it must have the same number of positive charge and same number of negative charges, electrons and protons and electrons respectively. So everybody okay? That's the definition of isotopes. These are the examples. And as I said earlier, almost all elements found on Earth have more than 1 isotopes, with 2 or more, always 2 or more. Shall I move on? Yes? All right. So next one is how to determine the atomic weight of an element. Atomic weight of an element. Remember, in the periodic table, you have the atomic number on the top, symbol on the bottom, then atomic weight underneath. So how do you calculate the atomic weight? And as you saw that, atomic weight is always a decimal number, something plus decimal, something plus something, decimal something, right? Always some kind of is a fractional number, not even number, not like integers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Mass number is always integers because number of protons, number of neutrons are the integers. Whereas atomic number is the integer. Atomic weight is the fraction. All right, it could be fraction, it could be all those decimal numbers that you saw. So atomic weight is the weighted average of the masses in AMU of the isotopes of an element found in nature. Now, what is the AMU, by the way? Does anyone know what is the AMU? Anyone? AMU stands for atomic A, mass M, unit. Atomic mass unit, AMU. We'll talk about what the AMU stands for, right? Again, we'll come back to that within a minute or so, within a few seconds. So now this is the example. Example number 1, for example, chlorine has 2 isotopes, Cl35, and abundance in nature is 75.77%. Chlorine has another isotope called Cl37. Abundance is 24.23 abundant in nature. With atomic masses 34.97 AMU for the Cl35 and 36.97 for the Cl37. So good, respectively. What is the atomic weight of chlorine then? How do you calculate? You take the weighted average of those 2 isotopes. So chlorine 35 has a 75.77% abundant divided by 100. So that will be the fraction contributing to the mass, and that's the mass of the Cl35. I already gave you here, right? 34.97, 34.97. So the percentage, the fraction, divided by 100 equals the fraction contributing to the mass is 34.97 plus percentage divided by 100, that's a fraction, multiplied by the atomic mass of the C37. That's a 36.97 AMU. Add them together, you get the 35.45 AMU. These are after 2 significant figures, right? If you get the 4 significant figures, that's what a periodic table has. And this is the represented in periodic table. If you look at the periodic table, everybody has handy. And 17 is the cup. That's atomic number. Chlorine is a symbol, and this is the mass, atomic weight of chlorine. If you got two significant figures, is perfectly fine. After the decimal, two number is all right, but in the periodic table, we have it up to 4 significant figures. Okay, so 35.4527. If you write 30.45 AMU, perfectly fine. So everybody okay, right? I have another example. This is for your take home, and you must do it because one of them will be in the test. Definitely one of them will be in the test. Everybody okay? So example number 1, chlorine. Example number 2 is the potassium. One of them 2 will be in the test. It will have 4 to 5 points worth of the question. Potassium has 3 isotopes with atomic masses, this, and this, AMU. Their abundances in nature are 93.26, that's the first one, 0.012%, the second one, 6.73%, the third one, respectively. What is the atomic weight of potassium? Tell me, what will you do? What will you do? So you take the percentage, first percentage, right? 93.26 divided by 100 multiplied by this, plus 0.012% multiplied by this, 0.12% divided by 100 multiplied by this. Similarly, 6.73 divided by 100 multiplied by this. So fraction contributing to the mass is this one, 93.27, 93.26% divided by 100 multiplied by this, 0.12 divided by 100 multiplied by this, 6.73 divided by 100 multiplied by this. And whatever you come up with, that will be the atomic weight of potassium. Can you do it? That will be for a take-home exam for the weekend. All right? All right, you do it because you'll be in the test. One of them will be in the test. Definitely one of them will be the test. Either chlorine or potassium. How to calculate the atomic weight? I showed you the chlorine, and if you have potassium, it has 3 isotopes. Carbon has 3 isotopes. You can go, chlorine has 5 isotopes. You can, sorry, not chlorine, sorry. The fluorine has 5 isotopes. You can go like they can have, an element can have more, at least up to at least 2, it could go up to 7 isotopes. And you can do all of them. And individual masses will be given to you. Percentage will be given to you as well, because these are determined by the machine. So when you analyze, let's say you are analyzing a cobalt, for example, you are analyzing the cobalt or some sort of element as iron. You are analyzing the iron in a sample and put into the machine. It's called analyzer, atomic analyzer, and that will give you the atomic mass of those isotopes. Plus, it will give the atomic the percentages present in nature. So basically, it is done by the machine. That's why these numbers are available to everybody. But one should know how to calculate the atomic weight of an element. Any questions so far? Yes?
Yeah, yes. I'm Samantha. I do have a question. So technically what you're saying is that, like, let's say we're trying to figure this out. We put the 93.26 over 100, then we multiply it by the 38.964.
That is correct. That's plus, that's a one contribution, one isotope, plus do the same thing to the next.
Okay, so then the 0.012, we multiply it by the 39.694, then the 6.73. I mean, but we do that after we divide it by 100, and then we multiply it. And then I'm confused, like, what do we do after we do all that for all 3 numbers?
Whatever number, you just add them up. You add them up.
Oh, that's it? All you do is add them?
Yeah, add them up. Whatever you will come up with, that's your atomic weight of an element. Yeah.
All right, I got it now.
All right, very good. So let's go on to the next one. So this is the characteristic.
I have another question.
Yes.
Some people in the chat are debating between significant figures, so I was wondering if you could possibly clarify that really quickly.
Yeah, I would like to have 2 numbers after the decimal. two numbers after the decimal. So do not worry about it. You can write, when I will ask the question and I'll give the choices A, B, C, D. And in the choice that you receive two numbers after the decimal. If you give
Okay,
two, that's
thank you.
but many people use 3, 4, but those are redundant, but they don't have much meaning. But yes, two after the decimal, two numbers should be acceptable. Is it okay?
Yep,
Very
thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
have a question.
Yes.
Are our tests like open notes?
No. No notes, no textbook, no nothing. You have to everything. You have to read and understand and memorize. Probably, I think at this moment, some of them. Yeah. Oh yeah. No. All right. Next. Let's go to the character.
I have a question.
Yes.
So you say it's like homework, just have it done. Like we don't have to turn it in or anything. We just have to do it.
You just do it because it's for the test. Yes. You
Okay.
just do it.
All right. Yeah.
All right. So next is the characteristics of the subatomic particles. We have remember there are three particles in a particular atom or element, and those subatomic particles are protons with one positive charge, electrons with one negative charge, neutrons zero charge. In principle, neutrons the combination of one proton plus one electron, plus one minus one zero. Right. The mass of proton is 1.6726. I have a fourth significant figure, but don't worry about it. But at least just for the time being, multiplied by 10 to minus 24 grams, mass in grams. So very tiny, right? Very small particle. And if you take the in AMU, atomic mass unit, it is given as 1.0073 AMU. How do you get it? The way you can get it, you basically take this number, all right, divided by this number, and that is 1 AMU. 1 AMU equals 1.6605 times 10 to the minus 24 grams. This is a standard value. I have nothing to do. You have nothing to do. You have to remember this number, right? So 1 AMU equals 1.6605 times 10 to the minus 24 gram. 10 to the minus 24 gram. So if we divide this with this number, you get 1.0073. Divide this with this number, you'll get a 5.4858. That's the mass of a proton, electron, 10 minus 10 to the minus 4, and that is equal to 0.005 in terms of the significant figures. All right, and then neutron, you can 1.6749 times 10 to the minus 24 divided by this number, you get 1.0087. In principle, if you add this mass of this and this, you can get almost this. All right. Protons and neutrons are present in the nucleus, and electrons are outside the nucleus. There should be nu there, huh? N should be there. So nucleus. All right. And atomic mass unit, as I define this, atomic mass unit is like this. So now, if I ask you a question, 1 gram of hydrogen atom H equals how many atoms are in there? 1 gram of hydrogen contains how many atoms of hydrogen? Can someone tell me? Atoms of H. So 1 gram of hydrogen equals how many atoms are in there? Remember, atom is a very tiny particles. The weight is very insignificant almost, but it has something. But if you take 1 gram of hydrogen, how many atoms of hydrogen you have to take to get 1 gram of hydrogen? Can someone tell me? Remember, hydrogen has hydrogen has 1 proton and 1 electron, no neutrons, right? So 1 proton and 1 electron combination, and then if you take 1 gram of this, so what will be how many atoms do you have to take? Usually take 1 over this number, 1.6605 times 10 to the power minus 24. So basically 1 over, because remember 1 AMU 1 AMU equals 10 to the minus 24, 1.6605 times 10 to the minus 24 grams. Therefore, number of atoms of hydrogen in 1 gram equals 1 divided by 1.6605 times this. Does anyone know what's the number? That equals to 6.022 times 10 to the power 23. Does anyone know what is this number? Does anyone know what is this number? It's a magic number.
Is that
Avogadro.
Yeah, absolutely right. That's called Avogadro's number. Avogadro is the name of the scientist who discovered this. So 1 gram, 1 mole, 1 gram of ion of anything contains the same number of ions, same number of atoms, or same number of molecules. Same number of molecules. And that is Avogadro's number. So 1 mole of anything, 1 atom, 1 mole of atom, 1 mole of molecules, 1 mole of ion contains the Avogadro's number. 6.022 times 10 to the power 23 of those things. In principle, it is said if you take 1 mole of anything, let's say 1 mole of human, of course we don't have that many, 1 mole of human will consist of 6.022 times 10 to the power 23 human, individual humans up there. So 1 mole of anything contains that many number. That is the number. That is called Avogadro's number. Avogadro's number. Now here is a question for you to work on this weekend. How many molecules of H2O in 18 grams of, so 18 grams of H2O contains how many molecules? Write it down please. 18 grams of H2O. H2O is the water, right? H2O, 18 grams of H2O contains how many molecules of water? In other words, if you take 18 grams of H2O in your hand, how many molecules do you have? How many molecules of water do you have? One can calculate. 18 grams of H2O contains how many molecules of H2O? Tell me, can someone tell me how do you proceed first? How do you do that? First thing first, you have to calculate the number of moles. Number of moles equal given weight divided by the molecular weight. Does anyone know what's the molecular weight of H2O?
18.
Thank you. 2 times 1, hydrogen is 1, 2 times 1 plus 1 times 16. That's in the periodic table. That's in the periodic table, you're right. So 18. So 18 divided by 18 is 1 mole. So basically 1 mole of H2O contains this many number. This many number. Alright? Alright. Let's move on to, so that's the atomic weight, so subatomic particles, the characteristics, and you got something about what's the atomic mass unit and what does it corresponds to the weight, real weight in terms of grams. Any questions here? If not, let's move on to the next. So once again, we are just showing you this one, just so you already have it. So this is the outer shell, extranuclear space. This extranuclear space is quantized, meaning it has different energy levels. So those energy levels are shown in the next slide. So these are the energy shells, we call energy shells. So that's a nucleus, tiny one, and the extranuclear space is surrounded by the first cell. That's the first cell, N equal 1, and second cell, first cell is close to the nucleus. Second cell is the next one, third cell is the next, fourth cell is the next, and fifth cell will be after the fourth cell. Sixth cell, seventh cell, you can go on all those cells, right? And number of cells, so number of cells is given like this way. Number 1, closest to the nucleus. Number 4 is away from the nucleus. Away from the nucleus. So in terms of the energy level, lower to higher. Lower is the first one, higher is the outermost, the shell. And number of electrons in a particular cell, so number of electrons, number of electrons in a cell, all right, number of electrons in a cell, I'm writing here, in a cell is given by this formula. Number of electrons in a shell equals, please write it down, number of electrons in a shell, first cell, second cell, third cell, fourth cell, any cell is given by 2n square, 2n square, where n is the number of cell, is a cell number. A cell is a cell number, all right? So n is the cell number and 2n square. So the first cell, when n equal 1, you have 2 times 1 square, you have 2 electrons. Second cell, n equal 2, you have 2 times 2 square, that's 8, right? 2 times 4 is 8. Third cell, that's the third cell, right? Third cell, you have 2 times 3 square, 18. Fourth cell, 2 times 4 square, 32. So how many electrons in the fifth cell? How many electrons in the fifth cell? Come on, tell me. How many electrons in the fifth cell?
50. 54.
Fifth cell, how many?
54.
2 times 5 square.
50.
50.
Thank you. 2 times 50, 5 square is 50. That is correct. That is correct. How about seventh cell? How many electrons in the seventh cell? Seventh cell?
98.
Thank you. That is correct. 2 times 7 square. That is correct. 2 times 7 square, 98. Yeah. So you can determine the number of electrons in a particular cell by giving this formula. So everybody okay so far? All right. So let's go to those number of electrons as you go to the cell number. And remember, as I told you earlier, these cells are quantized, meaning it has many different levels. The first cell has only one s orbital. That's called 1s. And it has 2 electrons, 1s, right? And so when cell number is 2, you have 2 subcells, 2s and 2p. 2p has 3 orbitals. One is called 2px, x-axis. Other one is called 2py, 2py axis. And next one is 2pz axis, 2pz, 2pz, z. Remember x, y, z, right? So x, you have a x. So you have a x-axis, you have a y-axis, and you have a z-axis. All right. So if you take the z-axis, right, z-axis, and the electrons are, so this p orbital, the p orbital of the p subcell. So cell number 2 cell, subcell has 2. When cell number 2, you have 2 subcells, 2s and 2p. 2p has 3 orbitals. So cell, subcell, orbitals, right? Cell, subcell, orbital. Cell 1 doesn't have anything. It has only 1s, only 1. So 1s. Cell number 2 has 2s and 2p. P has 3 orbitals. One is called px, and electrons are right here. These are the electrons there. You can also have electrons right here, and you can also have electrons in the z-axis. So x-axis, y-axis, and z-axis. Px, py, and pz. And each can hold 2 electrons. Maximum number of electrons they can hold 2. 2, 2, and 2. So therefore, P can have 6 electrons. 2 plus 2 plus 2. That's a 6. So 2 plus 6, total number of 8 electrons, right? When n equal 2, cell number 2 has 8 electrons. 2 of them are in 2s, and 6 of them are 2p. Those 6 electrons further distributed in a 2px, 2py, and 2pz. Everybody okay so far? When cell number 3, it has a 3s, 3p, and 3d. So 3 subcells. So on cell number 3, it is a 3 subcells, 3s, 3p, and 3d. 3p has again 3 orbitals, 3px, 3py, and 3pz. Everybody okay? And that will constitute 2 plus 2 plus 2, 6 electrons. So 2 plus 2, 6, 2 plus 2, 6. And then D subcell has 5. D subcell has 5 orbitals. Sorry, just 1 second, my cursor. D subcell has 5 orbitals. And those are D x square minus y square, comma, D y square, these are names, z square, D xy, comma, D yz, comma, D zx, gx. All right. So these are the names of the 5 orbitals of the D. P has 3. Px, 2px, 2py, 2pz. Same thing, 3. When the subcell is number 3, you have a 3px, 3py, 3pz. 2 plus 2 plus 2, 6. That's the 6 electrons. D subcells has 5 orbitals. D x square minus y square, dy square minus z square, dxy, yz, and zx. And each can hold 2 electrons. 2, 2, 2, that's a 2, 2, and 2. So how many total? 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. Now you are continuously chatting. So chatting, we have to stop that. I believe I did not turn it up today, but I will. So I do not want the disturbance, okay? All right. So once again, the D subcells has 5 orbitals. Dx square minus y square, dy square minus dz square, dxy, dyz, and zx. So when you have P, you have a px, py, pz, right? Those are three different coordinates. When you have a D, you have a 5 coordinates, the 5-dimensional, and that's why you see the 10. 5 times 2, 10, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, and that's 18 total. If you go to the 4th cell, it has 1 4s, 3p, 1 4p, and that is subdivided into 3, 4px, py, and pz. 5, 4d. That's a, sorry, 5 of them 4d. So 4d x square minus y square, 4d y square minus z square, 4dxy, 4dyz, and 4dzx. 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2 each, 10 of that. So that's a 10, that's a 6. And F subcell has 7 orbitals, 7 different dimensions. Of course, you cannot imagine that, right? We can imagine 3-dimensional. We are all 3-dimensional people, 3-dimensional things. But you can have a 5-dimensional for the D, or 5 coordinates. You can have a 7-dimension for the F orbitals. And each 7-dimension, each dimension can hold 2 electrons maximum. And that is 14. 2 times 7 is 14. So add them up, you get 32. Everybody okay? That's the electron distribution. This is called cell, subcell, orbitals. Cell, subcells, orbitals. That's how the electrons are distributed in the extranuclear space. Everybody okay? Yes? All right. Now once you have those, now we have certain rules, and these are the rule number 1, 2, and 3. How the electrons are
I thought we ended at 11:50.
Say it again. Oh, class is done?
Yeah, 11:50.
Thank you. All right. Looks like I have someone who has to tell me. I don't have a clock here. Someone has to tell me the time. Okay. Thank you very much. We'll discuss later on. All right. I was going on and on, huh? Thank you. I did not know the time. I didn't see it.
I have a
All right. Thanks for giving me the time. 5 minutes extra. All right.
I have a question.
Okay. Yeah.
Are you able to like post the concepts like that we went over? That way, like we're able to like look up a YouTube video or something if we don't understand it.
So I'll give you the slides. I'll post the slides.
Okay.
I'll post all of the slides until until the point that we discussed. Yeah, I'll post all those slides there. Sure.
Okay. Thank you.
And those slides will be there for the weekend definitely. And then once I put new slides, I'll take the old slides off. I'll delete the old slides and put the new slides on again. Okay. So you'll have a few days to copy those and look